everybody. My name is Mir. I'm the host of the More We Know podcast for the Gen Zs and Millennials. I know I say that. I say it's for the Gen Zs and Millennials. And yeah, although that is the focus, this podcast is really for anyone. But I look back at my time in college and I wish I had something like this. I wish I had a podcast where I could learn from mentors or experts in their industries, or, fellow Gen Zs that are talking about real world topics, that are talking about what is a credit card APR, what is investing, what does all this mean. So today, without further ado, we have Jay Kinder, who is a real estate entrepreneur who went from a small town kid to master business growth strategist, recognized throughout the real estate industry. He's quite literally a real estate legend. He sold over 5,000 plus homes. He came from a population of only 2,000 people. He wasn't really known, but he positioned himself as the number 2 Coldwell Banker Agent Worldwide. He won SBA Young Entrepreneur of the Year. He was in Realtor Magazine 30 Under 30. He was Wall Street Journal's top 25 agents worldwide, and a laundry list of high achievement awards, all by the age of 30 years old. By the time he was 25, he had become a local celebrity and commanded 14% market share of all home sales in his area. By the time he was 28, his passion for real estate expanded, and him and his business partner, Michael Reese, another top agent that got into real estate, decided to open doors of a new business together. They created a coaching business, a $10 million plus coaching business. They went through the '08 crash together. There were just so many things that happened, and now he's part of eXp Realty, which, if you don't know, the stock has been skyrocketing. The company has been exploding. It's just a really interesting podcast, and one part that I really like in this podcast is when he talks about going through bankruptcy and going through a housing market crash and how to get through that. There's just so many gems in here, and I'm so glad that he came on the podcast. And if you like the podcast, please just do me a favor. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, leave a review, leave a genuine review, whether it's 1 star or 5 star. Let me know what you think about the podcast, and let me see what you want to do more of. I really love this podcast. I'm very passionate about it, and I really just want to grow with it. So please, without further ado, welcome Jay Kinder, guys.
Welcome to the More We Know podcast with your host and social media influencer, Mir. Gen Zs and Millennials.
Welcome back to another episode of the More We Know podcast, because the more we know, the more we learn, and the more we earn. Today we got a real stud. Jay Kinder is really a real estate legend who's from Walters, Oklahoma, and he built a very successful real estate business, selling over 4,300 plus homes and becoming at some point the number 2 worldwide for Coldwell Banker several times before taking his business independent. He has an exceptional story. What he's been able to accomplish in real estate and coaching is awesome. But I kind of want Jay to take the mic and talk about his story himself.
Yeah, man. So appreciate you having me on here. Yeah, it's been a fun ride. I can tell you, I'm probably the least likely success story, you would ever find. Just a typical knucklehead from Oklahoma. Graduate. I always jokingly tell people I graduated in the top 25 of my class, but there was only 36 of us. So, so I went to college for a couple of years. Didn't really get inspired of, what I wanted to become, and didn't really know what I wanted to do. In fact, real estate really wasn't even on the radar. My dad was in real estate, but what I knew about real estate was he was always grumpy, you know what I'm saying? And always busy and hard to get on vacation and stuff like that. And so I wasn't really interested in real estate in the beginning until I saw, the opportunity. I think one day I walked in the office and I was getting paid for mowing grass. My dad's rental properties is what I was doing. And a guy got a check for it was like $3,500 or $4,500. It was a lot of money to me at the time. I was like, he didn't even break a sweat. I could tell that day. And, he made a pretty good sized little commission check. I said, well, tell me what he did today. How's he getting paid so much? And so I started learning a little bit about, the commissions and really the, tremendous upside potential of, selling a house and how much you can get paid. And so I decided that I was going to get my license, realized that, in just about every state, it takes, less than a couple of weeks to get a real estate license. It's pretty inexpensive, less than $1,000 out of pocket. So why not, just, check it out, see if it's something, if that guy can do it, surely I could figure it out. And that was kind of how it started.
So in that process, were you also in school at the time?
Yeah, so I was going to college, and I'm pretty sure I set the record for most parking tickets that semester. Outside of that, I wasn't blowing the doors off of anything. That's for sure. But the thing is, is when it comes to education, just because I stopped going to college when I got my real estate license, I started making commissions and I didn't re-enroll. But I did still further my education. I think I probably got more education than I would have if I'd have finished college, just because the things you have to learn when you get into the industry that you decide to get into. It's the application of those things, and then the learning of sales and the learning of marketing and all the really in real estate you own a business, so everything from accounting and business to sales and marketing, you've got to learn everything. And so not just the real estate law and contracts and things of that nature. You learn all that stuff to pass the test, but you still had to learn business, and ultimately you still have all of those areas that you have to learn in. And so that's what I spent really all of my career in, continuous learning and education, and trying to learn how to run a business.
Absolutely. And you would say, because I feel like, especially with my audience, a lot of people are scared that they need the college degree, that they need the education to be successful in an industry like real estate, for example. But I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but wouldn't you argue, I mean, everything you learned in real estate, you didn't learn that through school at all?
I learned nothing about, I learned absolutely nothing from school that helped me in real estate. So, I think there are some things, maybe there's some of the business courses, had I stuck through all of that would have helped me a little bit as I was, as I was a little bit older. Some of the lessons I learned in terms of the accounting and stuff like that, and running a business and my QuickBooks and that kind of stuff, that stuff probably could have helped me a little bit. But outside of that, I really, I learned from, the application of the work, just doing it. And there was no need for, if you're going to get into real estate, I would say you don't need a real estate degree or any kind of degree to do that. I wouldn't say no.
Makes sense. And what about for you within like your own personal life with family? Would you tell your kids, for example, how, like, if they're like, hey, should we go to college? What would you say to them?
Yeah, man, that's a tough one, man. I'm not opposed to college. I think the experience of it is great. I think you get to learn and meet a lot of people. And I think, the challenging thing, I think, for most kids is determining, what is it that they want to do when they've never actually done it. And you find yourself getting a degree, or getting into a career, a whole path that you take in college that maybe is something that you end up not loving and not wanting to do when you get once you have your degree. So that's the threat. I think my dad was in real estate, but he had an ag degree, so that's great for him, but he didn't use that degree. Obviously he got into real estate. So yeah, I think it just depends on the person and what it is you're trying to accomplish. And how, I think you just want to know that you're going to enjoy what it is that you're doing, because you don't want to get into that field of work and then realize, man, I hate this. I hate my life. I hate my job. This isn't going to take me where I want to go. I think that would be the thing that would concern me, is just getting clear on, try some things that you think you might enjoy and that you really are passionate about, because as long as you love what you're doing, you're going to do well at it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you hit an important point there, because it comes down to loving what you do, and it doesn't really feel like work.
That's
so
right.
How old were you at this time where you started the real estate business?
19. So I was pretty young, 19 years old. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny, because I think I was just young enough and dumb enough to not know, not know that there was no ceiling. No, there's, whatever I wanted to accomplish, I felt like I could accomplish. There was nobody that could tell me I couldn't. And so, it was kind of interesting being that young, getting into real estate. Not most people looked at me like a kid. So like, I really had to be good at what I did. I felt this, the need to be knowledgeable, to understand what's going on in the marketplace, and to really be an expert, so that I could advise people and give them good advice. And so I became pretty passionate about understanding what was going on in the marketplace, how many days on the market, and, the prices of homes and that kind of thing. So I started really studying that, because I knew that, when people were looking at me, they were looking at me like, this kid can't possibly help me, make the largest investment or sell the largest investment I've ever had.
Yeah, and that's one thing I was going to bring up, because a lot of people, some kids get into financial advising at a young age, and they're like, well, I don't know how I'm going to manage someone who's
being able to talk the numbers and say, hey, yeah, last year, that we're up, inventory's up, 11% from last year. Just little things like that. People started looking at me a little different, like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. It seems like he knows the market. And that was, that's just like in anything. If anything you want to do, you want to be good at it, right? And so I just wanted to be good. I wanted to be knowledgeable. I wanted to know what I was talking about, and I wanted people to trust me and feel like I could help them.
So you would say, Jay, you established that credibility from doing your due diligence, taking it serious, because sometimes you see 19, 20-year-olds that go into financial advising, for example, and they're like, how the heck am I going to manage a 50 or 60-year-old person's money? They don't trust me. I don't have market experience. But you built that based on what you just said.
Right. Yep. I built that based on actually, doing the homework. And again, so, a lot of that was different classes that I would go to. And there's different there's designations and things you can get. So I immediately started going after these designations, and it was just additional learning, things that I was additionally learning about, the business. But I continued to do that. And as I did more in that, I gained more confidence too. I think that was a big piece of it is, you get into real estate. It's not an easy business to get started in, but the more knowledge you get and the more you continue to learn, the more your confidence goes up, and the more you believe, hey, I could really do this.
And what about a support system? How important is that? Whether it's your parents, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, how important is a support system through that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think I've been fortunate. I wasn't married at the time when I got into real estate. I was single. So, my parents, they always supported me, and they always supported me going to the additional things to try to learn stuff. And then they would let me try, little, you get in real estate. Like if somebody was to ask me like, well, what did you do to be successful? In the beginning, I wouldn't have been able to tell you because I did 10 things that didn't work, and then one thing that would work, and then 10 more things that didn't work, and then one thing that would work. And so, it wasn't like a linear path to success, but it's that continuously trying things and it not working. But I never had anyone that said, no, that's not going to work. No, don't do that. They let me just try everything, and half of it didn't work. And, they probably suspected that would be the case, but they let me, they let me get excited and try things, and then, and continue to do that. And they encouraged me to continue to try things and try to figure it out on my own. And they just kind of let me kind of go my own way. Really, they could have, I guess, probably tried to hold my hand a little bit and help me a little bit more probably. But I think that just my personality type is a little independent, and they allowed me to do those things and go to events and things and encourage those things. And in some cases paid for them. And that, that really was what I learned was I'd pick up one thing that would work, and then, maybe 2 or 3 other things that didn't work. But I knew that every time there was an investment made in myself, that the return on that was tenfold. And so that I just became hungry for what's that next thing I can go learn from somewhere, or what's the next set of books and tapes I can buy from somebody to learn from. And that's been the journey.
Yeah, that self-development, I feel like that's key. Just be able to stay hungry and get through that. So at 19 years old, though, what I'm seeing now in my generation specifically is a lot of people, and quote unquote, it's not a technical term, but are very soft. So it's like they don't take rejection well. They don't really have the sports mindset where you just got to keep pushing, have that grit. At 19, how about for yourself? Did you have that mental toughness? Because real estate is not an easy game. It's competitive. There's a lot of no's.
Yeah. I don't think I did, honestly. I definitely do today, but I don't think I did then. And I think what helped me the most, and this is a class that I think still's around today, was a course. I remember one of the classes in college I was taking was speech, and I was petrified to speak in front of people. I mean, petrified. And I remember the topic I chose was a Yamaha Banshee, which is a four-wheeler, an ATV that I grew up racing and riding and stuff, and still happen to this day. But it was a topic that I was comfortable talking about, so I didn't have a problem. And I realized, okay, hey, if you know what you're talking about, it's not as bad. But I was still definitely afraid of speaking, in public and things of that nature. And I remember I was in my dad's office, and this guy came in, and he was from Dale Carnegie. And so the very first book I ever read because of this was How to Win Friends and Influence People. But I went to an 8-week course with Dale Carnegie training, and had to some of the most uncomfortable things I've ever had to do in front of strangers that I had to go through. And really, that really helped me with just my confidence and my ability to get in front of people and talk. Whereas I was definitely, fear of rejection, fear of speaking, things of that nature at that young of an age. Certainly that was I think the thing that propelled me to try a little harder and to I guess be a little bit more extroverted than I probably was naturally. And that was a lot of help for sure.
And that was a constant progress, right? So that was a big thing, but throughout your career, it was always that development every year.
Yeah. There's no, I mean, I usually don't have them hang it up here, but I have a lanyard wall, that's got probably 100 lanyards from me visiting and paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to attend different coaching and training. I've had coaches I've paid as much as $50,000 a day, Jay Abraham, $38,000 a day for Dan Kennedy. I mean, some of the top people in business that I've paid a lot of money to learn from. It didn't start out that way. It started out paying a couple $100 here, a couple $100 there. $1,000 a month was my first coach. I remember the first coach I hired was $1,000 a month, and I remember it was the contract was for $12,000, and I was sitting next to this guy, and I'm like, $12,000. Is this guy out of his freaking mind? Like $12,000. And next thing you know, I'm filling it out, and I'm putting it on 2 credit cards. Like, can you put the first payment? If it doesn't go through on this credit card, put it on this credit card and this credit card. And they're like, yeah, we can do that. So they did it, you know what I'm saying? And like, it worked out, like I learned my business took off, because I had a coach. And so, but could I afford it? Hell no, I couldn't afford it. I had to put it on 2 credit cards just to get the first payment to go through. So it was, there was a lot of risk, I think, that was taken along the way as well. But I've just never made that investment in myself and personal development, personal growth, and not got like a 10x return on it. And so it's just how I've been wired that way from since that point. There's not, there's somebody out there that if you're trying to solve a problem or you're trying to get to a certain point in your business that if they've gotten there themselves and they have a track record of success of helping other people do it, then pay whatever you got to do to get next to that person and then be a good model their success. And I learned the hard way with my coach, that sometimes I'm not as good of a modeler of success. Sometimes I think I'm copycatting and I'm not. And so I had to eat a little crow. I had this script that I was using and I said it wasn't working. I was on my coaching call. I said, man, the script ain't working. I've been using it. It's not working. He said, well, record your calls and send them to me. So I recorded calls and sent them to him. And this is back when you had to record them on a tape and send them.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, this is back in the day. And so I hate to even age myself that much, but that's true. So I had this little recorder giddy up thing that was hooked up to the phone, and I had recorded them and I sent him the tape and we listened to it. And he said, you didn't follow the script. I said, yes, I did. I said, look, play it again. He played it again. And sure enough, I had just changed up enough of it that it changed the context of the conversation and it effectively made the script not as effective. So I started and I said, damn, I thought for sure, right? Like that I was following exactly what I was being told to do. And I wasn't the greatest student, right? Like, so, I know that. So, but I knew that if I wanted to get good, that I had to start being a better student. And when I'm paying these people a lot of money, I damn sure better be a better student and listen and make sure that I'm doing what they're saying and don't just try to say, oh, this don't work because probably it's something I did. Because if they're teaching everybody how to do this and everybody's having success and I'm the one that's not, then it's probably me. And so that was that I learned early on is really being a good modeler of success and don't try to reinvent the wheel and make it your own. Like do what somebody's coaching you to do and then get this, you're going to get plus or minus the same result. And then if you want to start changing it up and see if you can improve upon it, then that's fine. But you got to be really good at copycatting. And so I got pretty good at copycatting after that.
Yeah, that's an insane investment to be able to be like, I'm going to invest 38,000, I'm going to invest 50,000, 100,000 into a coach. When you're looking for a coach, though, are you looking for someone that's had the success that you want, or could it be someone that just has principles or self-development that you need?
Yeah, so it's a great question. I think personal development, your Tony Robbins, your Jim Rohn, that stuff, man, you can't get enough of that. It's all about thinking and just becoming a better version of yourself and understanding that, everything in the world could be yours. You just have to understand that, it's how you believe, it's your belief systems. And it's those things that you want to continue to evolve and just grow into becoming a better version of yourself every day. But that stuff you can't get enough of. I mean, that stuff was paramount. I mean, I could have had all the education and all this training, all this other stuff, but if I didn't have that personal development with Tony Robbins and going to his events and Jim Rohn and all the books that he had and, reading the books and I'm those guys that like, I'm not most likely guy to ever read a book ever, but I've probably read 1,000 books now. And it's because the damn books have, the answer, there's a problem you have, there's a book somebody wrote and it's got the answer. I mean, it's just that simple. And so, the Napoleon Hill's, the Golden Rules, Napoleon Hill's, all his, anything Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, all that stuff. And those are all things that really get your mind right. And I think everybody should be always improving in those areas. That's something that's a daily, every single day. You never, ever stop. There's never an end. You're never there. You've never arrived. So you're always evolving in that area. So that's one that you never stop. But, the rest of, the investment into the coaching and things of that nature is really just based upon if I'm looking for someone to model. And so I made this mistake, and that's really why we created a coaching company, was I modeled this guy's business that sold 500 homes a year. I ended up selling 500 plus homes a year, more homes than he was selling. but I wasn't profitable. And it was because they didn't teach a business model based upon profitability. They taught a business model based on transactions. And so, that was the holy grail, was to sell 500 homes a year. But I can tell you, when I was selling 500 homes a year, that was not the damn goal. The goal is financial freedom. Okay. The goal is to have enough passive income some point in your life that offsets the amount that it costs you to live. Selling 500 homes a year was miserable. Okay. So but I didn't know that. So I said, well, I want to sell 100 homes. Well, I want to sell 200. Well, I want to sell 500. Right. That wasn't the goal though. The goal really should have been more around the financial picture of really time freedom. Now that I'm older, I know what it is that I didn't know that then, but I know what it is 20 years later. It's time freedom. If I wanted to sell 500 homes, that's great. I want to have enough passive income to be paying my bills so that I can go do that if that's what I wanted to go do. I can promise you that's not what you're going to want to go do. If you got ultimate time freedom, you're going to choose something different with your time. And so, I had spent, probably 12 years building my business. And a lot of people would say I was one of the most successful agents in the game, for sure. But I was also miserable. Right. And so it wasn't success to me. It was success in terms of hitting a number, but I didn't have clarity on what I wanted my life to look like. I want to be home with my kids. I don't want to have to work on the weekends. I want to have, time freedom and a business that works harder for me than I do for it. And so those are the things that, that I went through difficult times with, and then got more clear on what the goal was. And that's what kind of led to me creating a coaching company that taught people how to build businesses that were profitable and give you your life back. And that's kind of how we evolved, to out of production and selling real estate to coaching and training agents and building that organization. And so, yeah, it's just, I think, the biggest lessons that I learned, I remember my dad used to tell me things all the time. And then, I'd never had a year where I hadn't had a year that was, the year was better every year for the first 7 or 8 or 10 years of my career. And then 2007 hit, and I got my ass handed to me in the world's worst way. And I'm talking, almost bankrupted me. It was down to the point. I remember two things. I canceled my Netflix. It was $7.99. What was the other thing? Oh, I tried to negotiate not having to make my boat payment, and they told me there's no way I could, and that there was probably going to have to get repoed anyway. And so it was the hardest thing I've ever gone through, because the downturn in real estate was severe. And I went, I learned so many lessons. The things that I learned during that year were the most valuable lessons of my life, hands down. And so, so I welcome a downturn. I'm ready. I wasn't ready. And I don't think you could have made me ready. I don't think you could have given me a class, or you could have prepared me for my back against the wall, like I had to be. But I learned who I was, my character, from, fighting through that. And so that was a definitely, there's going to be ups and downs, and, you got to embrace the struggle. That's the one thing I will tell you, embrace the struggle, because the struggle is where you're growing. And, there's always, if you're not struggling in some way, shape, or fashion, then you're not stretching to try to grow. And so you just got to fall in love with the struggle, because it's, it's very much going to be a part of it your entire career.
Yeah, I love that you said that, fall in love with the struggle. I know a lot of people need to hear that, so that's something people can appreciate. But man, how did you recover from 2007? Because when I look back at that, people committed suicide. They were so bad, whether it was the stock market or the real estate market, everything was so bad. How did you get out of that?
Man, yeah. So it's basically like taking someone, for me it was, I was at the peak, at my peak, and I was making the most money I'd ever made. And then, it took me back to zero, what I'm saying? Like net worth is zero, negative, actually. I remember, and so at the time I flipped houses. So I had probably 8 or 15, somewhere in that range, of houses that were either bought, being flipped, or on the market to be sold. And had 22 rental properties, and I had, let's see, what else did I have? I had a development company that was doing a whole development, land development, for selling lots and doing new construction. We were building new construction. And I had the coaching company that we had just started the year before. We were writing checks to the coaching company to get it started. We weren't getting paid any money. We were writing checks to that. And so And in 2007, mid 2007, which it was already started to crash in Oklahoma. It was everywhere else. It had already started a little bit sooner, but it was coming big time in at that part of '07. But my right hand guy, my business partner on all my developments, flips, and all that kind of stuff, my top listing aid, top two or no, my top three agents and my listing coordinator. So 6 people all left my company and went and started their own company together. My key people, my best relationships. Um, at the same time, I'm writing checks to a company in Dallas, and my business is just dropping like a rock in terms of sales, and so that was a huge mess, and so yeah, so there was a leadership lesson that I learned in that whole thing, and trying to run a business somewhere else and not communicating, the opportunity that was there for everybody, and what I was doing wasn't abandoning what we were doing. It was in alignment with it. My real estate business success was what propelled the coaching company. People paid us because they knew what we were doing was working. Even in the downturn, when we learned short sales and stuff like that, we would do those things and we'd be teaching them to everyone else. So it was just didn't communicate that well, and lost some key people. I got them back a year later, but it was a devastating blow at the time. And so, yeah, so those are, I remember I kind of stuck my head in. I remember waking up early in the mornings, and Mike Reese, my business partner in the coaching company, he'd call me every day, and it would be, this was an accountability partner that I believe saved my life. But he would call me every morning, and the first number on the clock was always a 4. It'd be 450 something, and because he wanted to make sure he's calling me before 5, and he's just an animal, and he was going through the same thing in his business too, and we were trying to get this coaching thing going, and so I remember I was listening to Rick Ross. It was raining. Wipers are going like 100 miles an hour, and it's like every day of hustling. It's like every day like that for like 2 years straight, like just. I mean, everything. I tried to outwork it is all I knew to do. And I remember, I was laying in bed, and my wife today, we weren't married at the time, but I was laying in bed, and I finally added up all the damages, and it was like $682,000 in debt. Like I had borrowed money against all my rentals. Everything I had was leveraged. And so I was like 682,000 in bad debt. And I basically, all I could do, I mean, I could just chip away at it. I had no leverage. I couldn't flip houses. I couldn't buy any of these short sale opportunities that were around. Like we were coming out of the downturn, and if I had money, I could have really moved fast, but I didn't have nothing. I was toast. And so I had to just chip away. And so then I found a business partner in my dad, because I could find the deals, but I didn't have the money. He had the money. So I was, did the deals with him and split it, which was better than nothing, right, for a while. And then after a while, I got back to, got my debts all paid down a little bit. Then I, went to doing them on my own and started, chipping away a little bit more. But it took me till 2011 to become debt free from that. And so, but had I not ever gone through that, I wouldn't respect, have the respect that I have for, paying attention to what's going on in the marketplace, and knowing, you want to be cash heavy, in a downturn, so you can survive it and come out the other side and take advantage of it.
Right. And as an example, I don't know how you feel about the stock market because you're a huge real estate guy, but people that had that cash on that 40% crash, cashed out big time, right?
Yeah, they did.
So my question for you is, so you had 7 years of just kick ass, you were crushing it, you were the man in real estate. The downturn humbled you and you basically went bankrupt. And then 2011, you paid off the debts. And now fast forward 2020, you have a coaching business, you're financially free, passive income.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's been a hell of a ride. I would say, we built, my real estate business, throughout all that was peaked at about $2 million in revenue. So, I might have made $500,000 to $700,000 a year with all that, in those times. It was pretty good, not bad. And then so the coaching business, we built to about 8 million in revenues. So the things that I learned to go from running a $2 million company to running a $5 million company, that's a night and day difference. And then from 5 million to 8 million, almost 10 million, was another night and day difference in terms of, the people that you're leading and people who are leading other people in your organizations, and a lot more to learn and all of that. And so it was great. but I think, I definitely learned some lessons that were significant. We had downturns in that, in that as well. We had one situation that almost sank the entire company. Never would have dreamed it. Never would have dreamed it. We sold a product that ultimately we had never had a chargeback because we sold coaching and we delivered on that value, and nobody ever would have charged it back to a credit card to us. Cause they knew us. They knew we're good for what we were selling them. And we had this mentor that said, "Hey man, you guys are fishing for tuna," which is, a higher clientele that would pay, $1,500 a month for coaching or whatever. And, there's all this tilapia that gets caught in the net. They can't afford that, you need to do something with the tilapia. I was like, great idea. So we created a product for them, and we sold like 350 the first month. And we didn't realize that this was people that didn't know, like, and trust us. They hadn't had the experiences with us that our coaching clients had. But they would buy this lead gen product that we had, and we deliver the leads. And then, typical real estate agent doesn't call the leads and doesn't do the work. And then they want to charge back the credit card. Didn't have that wasn't even, as the CEO of the company, I didn't even have that measurement I didn't even have it on my list of things because we'd never had one. So I wasn't even aware that it could be a problem. So the merchant account calls us in the second month that we're selling that product. We sold 250 the second month, and we had, if you have more than 1% chargeback rate in your company, and I think at the time we had 700 charges going through a month. And so we had enough of these chargebacks that it tipped the scales. They took $200,000 out of our bank account that comes through the merchant. I didn't even know this was legal at the time. I was like, this is like robbery. And so then we had to loosen up our refunds, because if we didn't refund them, they was going to charge back. And if they did that, they were just going to stop allowing us to use that merchant account. So we wouldn't have been able to collect any money. We'd have been out of business overnight. And so, we gave back about $100,000 a month in revenue that we wouldn't have. We lost $200,000 from the merchant account. So it's about $300,000. And that happened 2 months in a row before we, and it took us about 6 months, and we couldn't stop selling the product because we needed the revenue to survive. So we couldn't get out of it. Like, we would have stopped selling it if they hadn't pulled all the money, from us. And so, yeah, it almost put us out of business, because we couldn't stop selling the product. There was no way out of it. Other than just continue to deliver on the product and make these people happy. And it was a stupid ass move, but it almost killed us, and we'll never sell. I'll never, it's important. And we had done this right for all the time. For the whole time we've been doing it, we've been doing this right. We've been selling to the right customer. We knew who our ideal customer was, and that's who we sold to. And then we made the mistake of trying to get greedy and go after the clients that we don't really, that are not really for us. And that was a big lesson learned. But that looking at the business model, what's our exit strategy? I think that's something that we were keenly aware that technology, there's a lot of technology products in real estate. We had helped a bunch of those guys make a lot of money, sell for $20 million, one of them for 50 million. One of them, we got a percentage ownership and made 7 figures on the exit. And so we were looking for, our exit, what's our 20 or $50 million deal. And it's not going to be selling a coaching company, because the valuation of a coaching company is not going to be more than about 1.5 times EBITDA. So you're probably not going to sell your $10 million coaching company for enough money to retire. And so we were looking at, different technologies and things of that nature. And we started building a nationwide brokerage, and where we provided even more of the value. So we would do all the calls. We would call all the neighborhoods. We would run all the ads. We would do everything, and we would we would partner with you as an agent, and we would make you the dominant agent in that marketplace and build your personal brand. And we were doing that through 2016 and 17, and we built that up to a little over 2 million in 1 year, 272 transactions. Never seen anything like it. It was unheard of kind of execution of what we believed. That we always coached people to do these things, but now we're doing it for you. So it was a done for you model that was basically us taking on all the difficult things of hiring and the right people, and running the ads and doing all the stuff that logistics become difficult for agents to go do that and go sell. And so we did all that, and then we saw this business model, EXP Realty, and it was basically a business model that where we could essentially partner with agents and then they never have to pay us, and we would get paid residual income off the back end of of their transactions. And so we had two choices. We could have raised money on our story of what we were already doing, but I already knew what that looked like because I've done it. It's every day up at 4:00, and you're managing and leading people. You're going to have 2,000 employees probably in this business model before it's all said and done. I was the CEO, and I knew what my life was going to look like for the next 10 to 15 years if we didn't screw it up, right? Like there's a good chance we're going to screw it up somewhere along the way, and it's going to crash and burn. So but could we have built something significant? Yeah, but how do you add it? It's added.
It is?
Yep. Done. So sorry, my son was wanting me to add
No, you're good.
Coffin Dance to his playlist. So I don't know if you've heard the song Coffin Dance, but I get to hear it about 80 times a day here at my house.
80 times?
Because yeah, it's a pretty good song, dude. But it's like, I'm like, what makes they just, and it doesn't even have any words. It's just like, it's just music, you know what I'm saying? But it's catchy. But he plays it all the time.
It's like the TikTok, one of the TikTok songs.
Right. Yeah. Kind of like that. Yeah. So this concept and I think this is important because like once I spent 23 years of getting real clear on the problems real estate agents have and how they need to be solved because I had them and then I solved them the wrong ways and I saw all the what was missing, and then we started providing what was missing and the coaching and training and stuff like that. And so, so I had a lot of ego behind what we were doing and a lot of confidence that it was the best thing that anyone could be doing. Right. And so, and when you have ego, you tend to not see opportunity as clearly. And we've just been reading this book by Ray Dalio called Principles. And in the book, he has one of his principles, his life principles is being radically open-minded. And I think, if someone was to say, hey, there's this new brokerage, I'm not that radically open-minded. I mean, we're building a brokerage here. We got all the tools. We're light years ahead of what any other brokerage that I've ever seen had. And so there was no chance that I was going to look at a new brokerage, except I just read this book and it said, assume you're wrong. It means assume you're wrong. Whatever you think is right is wrong, and be open-minded, and then, then ask questions and then decide for yourself, and, just look for truth. Right. And an accurate representation of reality. And that's hard to do when you're bought into your own thing, especially when you got 40, 50 employees and, you got a vision board and you're every day saying that, having a few rules, repeat yourself a lot. But yeah, being open-minded and looking at that opportunity was huge. And when opportunity, one thing that happens as you become more successful is you're going to have more opportunities that come your way. And the filter that I always ran them through was my core values. What matters to me? Who am I? And what is the values that I live by at my core and our company lives by, because that's how we got here. And if it matched up with the core values and then it aligned to the vision of where we're trying to go, if it's not like taking me over here, right? Like, don't try to get me off on something that's not helping real estate agents grow successful businesses. That was what we did. So if it wasn't in alignment, if it was mortgage, nah, I ain't interested in mortgage. Mortgage is going to take me off this way. I'm trying to help real estate agents, not mortgage brokers. Right. And so we could run things through a filter. And if it was alignment, we would say, we could say yes or no based upon if we thought it was going to help us do what our vision was. And so, having a kind of some criteria for how you determine what it is you're trying to do, what you're passionate about, what you feel like you can be the best in the world at. And then, knowing, you're going to run things through a filter and how you make decisions. And so that's, that this EXP opportunity was a way for us to add more value to agents' lives faster. So our vision was to get to 2,000 partners by December 27th, 2024. That was an 8-year vision we set in 2016. And at EXP now, I have 4,064 partners at EXP now. And I did that in 3 years. And so, and again, I had to push my ego aside, push my own company aside and say, I'm going to join Glenn Sanford's company. I'm going to help him grow that company because the opportunity was so much bigger and the impact was going to be greater that we could have on more people's lives. And so because of all that I was even open to look at it, it's been the best decision that we've ever made. And I've to be honest, it's not even fathomable how much money that we're making now from that. So, and I have no employees, no work. I mean, I have complete time freedom. That was the main thing, was like learning that I really was trying to get to time freedom anyways. And so now I have ultimate time freedom, and this is a passive income. It's well into over 200,000 a month in passive income that I personally will make each month, and then it's growing at about a clip of about 6% a month, compounded monthly. So I mean, you could do the math on the growth rate of that, but it's pretty awesome, pretty fortunate, pretty blessed. Yeah. That's all I can say, man. It's like, I found the right thing, that to really amplify what it is that we do.
Absolutely. Just so many gems there. First off, just from, talking about bankruptcy to sales to just values and building businesses. And a lot of people don't, it looks really cool on social media to build a business from scratch, Gary V, Grant Cardone, but
right.
What you just talked about, the real life struggles of what can happen, chargebacks, the tedious stuff, taking 200K from your account. So right. Thank you for those gems. For people that don't really understand, to get to 200K a month, it's different, right? It's different than W-2 making 200K a month versus right. You being your own business owner, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's, there's, this is our situation now. It's not, when I was doing, when we were doing 8 million a year, almost 10 million a year in revenues, the amount of expenses and, the employee, I mean, I think our salary pay was over 250,000 or something like that a month, whatever it was more than that. I think it might have been 400,000, but it was a lot. It's just trying to think of we're going to pay all these people all for, all the different roles and responsibilities and all that kind of stuff. I'm an independent contractor. So my company gets paid, residual off of every deal that gets closed or whatever. But, it's, I got to pay taxes out of that, which I'm moving to Puerto Rico in December. So, I'm going to take advantage of the 4% tax down there and provide the services we provide from there for the next few years. Because it's an insane amount of taxes that I'm going to save by living in Puerto Rico. And so, it's not, you got to save for your own taxes and pay your own taxes and all that kind of stuff. But, it's a good business. That's for sure.
So would you say from all those businesses you ran, you were, back in the day, you were a real estate agent it was Coldwell? Was that it?
Yeah. Coldwell Banker originally. Yeah.
Yeah. So in all those experiences, EXP has been by far the best.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, for sure. The business model, they know the business model. And so, I think people, when you see something that's a disruptor, right? So we all know Netflix is a disruptor now, but when it came around in the beginning, we weren't all expecting to buy like Amazon. I don't think when I bought my first book from Amazon, I never knew I was going to buy everything on Amazon. Right. And so you don't sometimes see it when it's coming. And when Glenn created eXp Realty, he created a cloud-based real estate brokerage. And even today, most people don't understand it, even though it's exploding at this time. I mean, when we joined 3 years ago, there was 5,000 agents. Today it's 35,000, but it's, which is a lot, but it's not yet really taken off. It's just now starting to tip, but people don't understand why it's disruptive. And and I do understand it. And so that's the reason why, we saw the business model was superior. Agents don't have an exit strategy. We sell real estate for a number of years. You don't have, like you mentioned, you don't get W-2, you don't have a 401k, you have whatever you save. And you probably never heard of a real estate agent having a retirement party because they never retire. They just die. So, that's, there's no end game. And so this is a publicly traded company. They award stock agents just for doing. But yeah, so it's business model, right? And so they're it's a cloud-based application, and we're never going to go back to going to Blockbuster to get our content to come home and watch and then have to pay a late fee. We'll never go back to that because it's just easier and faster to stream it on Netflix, right? And so brokerage services and what agents get services from their brokerage are historically have been through a brick and mortar model that resulted in someone buying a region, a Remax or Coldwell Banker or whatever, franchise region, and then they would go sell franchises. They would build bricks and mortar offices, and then they would recruit agents, and then they would deliver services to those agents. Those services would be support and training, primarily. Support and training is the main thing you get from your brokerage. And so, can you do that in the cloud better, more efficiently, faster, easier? Absolutely, you can. We have 55 hours worth of training every single week in the cloud. We deliver that to our agents. You don't have to have a brick and mortar office in order to get that training. You can get it right from your phone, right? You can get support right from your phone. You click into, these collaborative groups and get answers to questions from your broker, all this kind of stuff. So we have this cloud application. And when COVID hit, it was an interesting time, right? Everybody's, at home with their kids, and we had 700 employees in our company that didn't change a single meeting. They all worked from home. We're a global company that works, everybody works from home in the cloud application. Nothing changed. So we continued to operate as if nothing had changed, except we all had our kids at home. But other companies struggled to communicate and struggled to try to get answers on questions on files that are closing because you couldn't go into the office. And that was where your information and support was. And so, the model just kind of proved itself out. Pretty quickly, it became obvious why this was such an advantageous model. And the way the company grows, and this was the most brilliant thing, is somebody bought a $500,000 region, and then somebody bought a franchise, built bricks and mortar with the intention of recruiting agents into the company. It's a recruiting model. All the brokerages are recruiting models. But when you don't have bricks and mortar, the mechanism for growth is also gone. So what Glenn did was he said, well, we're going to let the agents earn revenue share, and you pay royalties. So like you pay a 6% royalty to Coldwell Banker, then they share that royalty with the region. So you're getting revenue share off of all these agents in your region if you bought that region. And so that's how those companies grew. Well, at EXP, we don't have any fees that we pay up to the top, off the top, and there's no regions and there's no territories, and it's one global company. But the way he designed the pay compensation plan for growth was he wanted to make the opportunity so big that people like us that had $10 million companies are going to look at his company and say, this opportunity is bigger than anything I could probably do myself. I'm just going to join here and help them grow this company. And so that's what he did. And we were one of the first people to understand that, I think. But now pretty much anybody who provides any value to real estate agents in the industry are all joining EXP, because they see that the lifetime value of a customer that comes to EXP and stays there forever, because they're going to get stock and they're going to get passive income, is better than selling someone a product that you maybe pay $50 a month for a year, and then that customer moves on from you. And so everyone that's joining EXP has the opportunity to recruit agents to the company and get paid passive income for doing that. And so, and then, we're helping them, right? So like we have a financial vested interest in using our own resources to help you build a passive income, because we win too. It's a 7-tiered payment plan where you can earn revenue share off of agents as many as 7 levels below you. The person that you brought into the company, who tells a friend, who tells a friend, who tells a friend. And it's most notably seen in network marketing. It's a compensation plan that network marketing uses in all. If people don't understand network marketing, they're like, oh, this is just an MLM or whatever. That's just ignorance. Network marketing is a way you bring a product to market through word of mouth sales. And so instead of selling to discounts to Walmart and them distributing it, you're going to sell it at a premium, and it's going to be through word of mouth, through people that love that product, and they're going to get to make when they tell other people about the product and purchase it. And so it's just a mechanism, a different business model for how to compensate for growth. Well, EXP, we're not selling pills and potions. We're getting compensated from the real estate transactions that our agents do. So we have the ability to earn multiple tiers of revenue share, which has proven to be very lucrative, a very lucrative business model, and certainly is the main reason the company is growing the way it is.
Sure, and I hear a lot of people, they talk about, oh, MLMs, this, it's just a pyramid scheme. But when people look at fundamentally from a business perspective, wouldn't you agree? Like if you right now, you and I go work at an Amazon warehouse, Jeff Bezos is making a passive income in a way off what we're doing. So isn't that just business life cycle?
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And it's funny. So, fortunately, this would be an uphill battle for us to try to sell a business model like this if it hadn't already been done. So Keller Williams did the same thing. Keller Williams is the largest, and they did a 7-tiered profit share plan, and they're the biggest, right? So there's evidence they were the MLM of real estate for the better part of 20 years, and they proved that it worked. And so the difference is this is revenue share off the top, not profit share. because if there's no profit to share, then there's no profit to share. And so it was a little bit different in the fact that people would join Keller Williams, and until you get to 250 agents in an office, it's not going to be profitable. So you're not going to get any profit share. So you might be selling people on how great Keller Williams is in this profit share, but you ain't getting any of it. And so at EXP, you bring a friend over, they close a deal next month, you get a check, you get some money deposited in your account. The story's a lot more real to you because you're actually getting the promise made, promise kept. And that's, I think that's a huge difference in this business model. But yeah, it's been, I've never seen anything like it. And all the businesses I've ever looked at, I've never seen an opportunity like this one.
Yeah. So right now, if there's someone listening, they're driving to work, they're working 9 to 5, and they're like, man, I want to partner with Jay. I want to join EXP. I want his coaching. Yeah. What do they do?
Yeah, so I'm pretty easy to find. You can go to jkinder.com and just where you can just book a call with me. So just grab a call. I'm happy to talk to anybody. I'm fortunate. I've had a lot of lessons in life, and I'm people that are hungry, and I like people that are hungry, humble, and smart. And if you're hungry and you're coachable and you see something here maybe, or there's something that you want to ask me, I'm happy to help and provide some guidance, or maybe even some connections or relationships I might have that could help you with something. So I'm always happy to help people and give back, because that's how I got to where I'm at, is people giving to me.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for being a resource like that.
Yep.
So what about from, because a lot of my audience, they're very curious about how to make money, how to get that financial freedom and passive income. Can you walk us through, let's say right now someone joins your team at EXP, and for sake of example, it's me. What is my 12-month to 24-month pathway to get to 100,000 in maybe passive income, or 100,000 just in income?
Yeah. So there's kind of two schools of thought. So I can teach anyone how to do one of two things. I can teach you how to sell real estate. And there's a tremendous upside in that. You can, in real estate, you can learn, I can teach you marketing and sales and teach you how to spend a few $100s and make $10,000 commission. That's a pretty damn good business. And so there's a good reason to do that. And a lot of people think, well, how am I going to ever recruit an agent to EXP if I've never sold a house? And you absolutely can. The way you do it is you leverage our system we created, which is, anytime that you have a conversation with an agent and simple question like, hey, are you earning as much money as you would like to be earning in your real estate business? And if the answer is no, then say, well, I might have an opportunity for you. I just partnered up with one of the top real estate agents on the planet. He's actually coaching me for free. He's doing a presentation today at 1:00. If you'd like, if I could get you a link, would you want to take a look at it? I think might be something that might interest you. I can teach you how to enthusiastically invite, and you can talk to 5 people a day in real estate. And you're going to eventually get people to show up to that. And I'm going to convert them to join us at EXP. Anybody could do that. A lot of people think they can't. A lot of people won't do it. A lot of people are afraid to do it, but anybody can. And so all you have to have is a real estate license. And if you do that, and you no different than you would have to talk to strangers to sell real estate, you're going to have to talk to strangers that are realtors. You can build up a passive income, pretty quickly. I would say I've got a guy that's, the average probably guy that does the work is making, over $100,000 a year now. And he's been with me 2 years. So, that's, and that's passive income. I mean, he's got ultimate time freedom, and it's growing, right? So it's a revenue that's growing at a clip of about 10% a month for him. And so, that means he's going to double that income probably in the next 8 months or 6 months. So that's, that's what's possible, for sure. I think real estate's one of the best industries you could ever get into, hands down. And then, there's no better place to be than EXP, because you have the mentorship for free.
That's awesome. And can you do this while still working full time as well, or no?
No, I would say no. I think, a lot of people try to do part time, but you got to burn the boats, man. You got to set the boats on fire and go all in if you want to be successful in real estate. That's my 2 cents. Have I seen people do it somewhat successfully? Yeah, but it's not likely. It's it's going to take your full attention and effort if you want to really truly be successful. You got to go all in. I believe that.
Yeah. And kind of my last point on the EXP, I saw that in the last couple of months, the stock was skyrocketing. Is that more of the trend of people starting to realize like, oh shit, this really is changing the game? Yeah,
I think the investors, it's based on trading volume is the reason the stock's going up. And I think the investors understand that we are the future of real estate. And so that's what we're seeing tremendous gains in the stock. I mean, I think when I joined the company, the stock was $3.61. Today it's like 55, so that's great. That's a good sign. I mean, stocks go up, stocks go down. I can't predict what it's going to do, but we're still relatively small. We're open in 5 countries by the end of this year. We're already in UK, Australia, Canada, United States, several other little smaller countries. And so like we are a global force to be reckoned with a future of probably 500 to 1 million agents that'll be inside the company at some point. So, we're at 35,000 agents. I think people are starting to realize that this is the future.
That's all. Yeah, I saw Jim Cramer was talking about you guys. He said you guys were a good stock.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So again, so people can just reach out to you if they want to join, schedule a call, and you'll walk them through it to join your team.
I happily do it. Yep.
So as we kind of transition over here into the conclusion, thank you so much for talking about EXP, just a lot of life lessons and gems. But the last part is kind of, for people that stick through the podcast the whole way, the educational aspect. Right. So what is the biggest lesson that you learned from building a business from bankrupt 0 to 10 million plus?
Yeah. The biggest lesson that I've learned is, I think it's gotta be, if you haven't gotten to where you want to be, you just haven't learned something yet. So wherever you're at, if you're stuck, there's somebody that you can learn from to get you unstuck. And so that's an always evolving process. And just know that you're never stuck. You're just at a place where there's something you haven't learned yet, and just embrace that and embrace that struggle and trying to figure that out. And as long as you get around the right people, the right mentors, the people that have done what you're trying to do, to solve those problems, then you're going to be able to get past, the challenges that you face. Know that they're coming, embrace them, fall in love with the process.
Yeah. Awesome. What would you say to a Gen Z, a 21-year-old who's either just graduating college or starting, in the workforce? What's the greatest piece of advice you could give to, if you looked at Jay Kinder back at 21 yourself?
Yeah. So the most important thing you could do is determining that I'm going to be the most valuable resource for whoever it is that I'm working for. Whatever it is, the job that I'm in, I'm going to be add as much value to that organization for the job that I do that I possibly can. Because if you focus on adding massive value, then the return on that is unbelievable. Entrepreneurs, we're always looking for people that step up. And I've had people that came to work for me at $2,000 a month and ended up running one of my companies. And so, because they were learners, they were growers, they were open to learning and trying to grow and get better in any area. And they were students they would read the books I would suggest. They would go through the courses that they needed to learn and become the most valuable resource they could. And they understood how to add value in the position that they were in, and they did it at a highest level possible. And so those people become leaders in your organizations. Those people get paid a lot of money to move up in the organization, and opportunities created for them. And ultimately, most of those people ended up going out and started their own businesses at some point. And so, if you focus on adding value, like that's, add value to your clients, add value to, make the focus of your work being around adding value to people's lives. Like that's the philosophy that I have, is add value to people's lives. And if you're always doing that, man, you can't lose. So that would be kind of what I would circle around. Everything that you're doing needs to be adding value.
Adding that value sort of makes you pandemic and recession proof for whatever happens.
Right.
So what tomorrow, if the real estate market crashed and we had worse than 08, what would you do?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, I would stick it out. Real estate is pretty resilient. It always comes back. So, I think I'm in the best recession proof type of business model there is. I mean, there'll be less sales. It'd be probably half the sales that there are today if we had some type of recession crash again, which we will eventually. But yeah, I think I would stay in it. I'm going to stay cash heavy, and I'll be ready to invest, in the opportunities that come around. But I wouldn't get out of real estate.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, as you said, it's one of the best industries to be in. What about one thing, I know I had the bio on you, but how many houses have you sold like in your career? I'm really interested to
Yeah,
know.
man, it's funny. I'm not 100% sure the exact number, but it's probably in
Mhm.
excess of 5,000. Really close to that, I would say. And at a certain point, it wasn't me going into the houses. I had a team of people that started going and doing deals and stuff like that. But yeah, it's in excess of 5,000. Interestingly enough, I could pull this up. But the 4,000 agents. Let's see, the 4,000 agents that I have this month sold, I think they sold 1,485 homes just this month. So, I have
Okay.
a small role in selling 1,485 homes this month. But so this year, we'll sell tens of thousands of homes with the group that I've assembled at EXP. So that's how I'm starting to think about it now. It's not actually me out there selling it, but the group of people that we've assembled will have sold more than 10 or 12,000 homes this year easily.
Right. And the coolest thing you said is, as you mentioned earlier in the podcast, you get to move to Puerto Rico. You have that opportunity. If you
Right.
were working for Century 21 in Oklahoma, there's no chance you're going to just move wherever you want.
No, not moving anywhere. Yeah. No flexibility. That's for sure. You're stuck.
So I ask every guest, because the podcast is called The More We Know. And the last question that I sort of ask is, what is something you wish you knew more about?
Something I wish I knew more about. That's a
Hmm.
good question. Yeah, maybe a little bit more about politics. I think, you know, watching this whole shit show of a race that we have going on for the presidency of the United States, and you know, having my own views over the years and beliefs that I was probably brought up having or whatever, but just I don't know who you can trust and who you can't trust, right? I don't know that I like more government. I never have so far. My experiences
Yeah.
of having more government has not been good for me, but I think I wish I understood a little bit more of the truth behind the politics and what really goes on, and what's really happening, and how many things out there that are being manipulated by politicians and things of that nature, and how corrupt it may really be. I think I wish I knew a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. And you see so many different news outlets, and you just don't know what you can trust and what you can't trust. It's a lot
Right.
of stuff out there. That's a great point.
It's absolutely corrupt. You can literally watch the debate from Fox's viewpoint or CNN's viewpoint, and it's two completely different perspectives, right? And it's like one station is clearly putting out biased information, the other station is clearly putting out biased information. Who the hell is telling the truth anywhere? Like there's got to be somewhere in the middle that there's truth. You would think, and so, but there just
Yeah.
doesn't seem to be that outlet for us to get. The best outlet I found is Joe Rogan. Saying like,
Yeah.
he's about the best truth teller I know. He don't let the bullshit get too much swayed to one side or the other without pulling it back to the middle. Be like, all right, now let's talk some real shit here. And so, like,
Yeah.
he's kind of my grounded source for like, all right, what's the truth here? Am I going to die if I don't eat plants? Yes or no? Like that kind of stuff. Right.
Yeah. And it kind of showed that it's funny you say Joe Rogan, because you look at him, $100 million podcast with Spotify. So it shows
Right.
when you build that type of audience.
Right. Right. Built on the truth. Right. Like that's what I think
Right.
a lot of people appreciate about his approach is he doesn't take a bias too much one way or the other,
Yeah.
except for psychedelics.
Yeah. What about, don't you also have your own podcast?
Yeah. So, yep. I got a couple podcasts that we've done. One was called Face to Face with Jay Kinder and Michael Reese. That's probably one of the more popular ones that we did for a few years. And now we do one that's just EXP related. You can find that on my jkinder.com page as well.
Okay, that's all on your page.
Yep.
What is the Jay Kinder daily success habits? What time do you wake up? Workouts? What's the
Yeah.
Jay Kinder habits?
Man, shoot, I can tell you that what will wreck those habits is getting financially free. You start to have a little too much freedom to do what you want. I still wake up early. I'm usually up at like 6:00, but I used to be up at 4:00 every day. Had to be. Hit the gym every day. At least during the weekdays, 5 days a week. Usually I'd hit a weekend run or something, but hit the gym in the office usually by 6:00, 6:30 ish, and then my first part of my day is planning the day and making sure my priorities are locked in the calendar. I'm very much by calendar. 100% of my day is calendared, even my free time. And so I'm clear about what I'm trying to get done. And then some things are going to take me off my calendar, but I at least can be aware of what got me off my calendar. And at least I had a plan. And so I've always been very, that's been the best thing you can do. We all have the same amount of time in a day. It's how we invest that time that's going to determine your future. And so getting serious about that is when I started making serious money, is because I started paying attention with what's the dollar value of every minute I'm spending, and quit spending time doing things that, I can delegate, or that are not worth my time, or that are just wasting time. And so pretty diligent about that, still am. And the first part of my day, I like to do, typically I'll do these types of interviews usually in the afternoon, because I can do them, and I can do them no matter how exhausted I am. And so I usually use mornings for projects. And so whatever my project is, I'm going to usually do a 90-minute jam session on whatever my biggest priority is, biggest rock in my shoe. And that's kind of how I work my days. I usually hit something focused on the priority for the first 90 minutes of the day. And then, the rest of my day is calls, calendared calls that I allow people to set calendar calls, or do Facebook interviews, or whatever the case may be. But that's pretty much been my focus.
So the night before, you already know what your schedule looks like for the next day?
Yep. Bookends, the day, you end the day, look at how you did, and prepare for the next day, get it calendared, get it ready to go, review that in the morning, and then hit your first priority. Hit that first 90-minute jam session. You eat the ugly frog, the shit you didn't want to do, the hard thing that you probably won't do it if you put it at the end of the day. Try to eat that frog first, and start the day with a big win.
I love that. What's the quote that you live by? A success quote?
Man, a success quote, man. I have a ton of quotes. Man, it's one of the things that I've always lived by is man, what is the dang quote? I used to have it on my computer. I don't have it anymore. Entrepreneurship is living a few years of your life like most people won't, so you can live the rest of your life like most people can't. That's it right there.
And would you say that quote resonated with you, whether you were 19 or running your own business, or EXP, with every single one?
Yeah. I think the ridiculous amount of effort that's gone into 23 years of my career in real estate, that the entrepreneurship, and that led me to it's insane amount of money that I'm making. I would never have been here where I am today had I not had that mindset of put in the fucking work, and I did that. What I'm saying, I'm getting paid back for it now. And it took a little while to get here, but I'm glad I put in the work, to be in my early 40s and be, in the financial position I'm in. I feel very blessed and fortunate. But it's because of the work that I put in. Make no mistake about that.
Yeah. And it's clear just from your energy. I see your story. You work your ass off. So thank you for being an inspiration to a lot of us.
Appreciate it.
What would you, rejection played a big part in it too, right? You could have easily quit when people said, no, I don't got time for you. Hang up the phone. That played a big part too, right?
Yeah, man. Man, you gotta, you can't look at the no's as, you're not trying to get 3 yeses today. You're trying to get 97 no's, right? When you play the game differently, your success doesn't, this is, Darren Hardy said this, and it's a great quote, or a description, I think, of success is you can't push the pendulum to success. You have to push it to failure, and then it'll swing to success. And so, you have to, the further you push to failure, the more you'll push to success. And so, when you get that first no, that's just the first of 90. You're one more no closer to the yes. And you just have to embrace that. Be like, all right, next. I'm just trying to get through the no's because I'm going to find the yeses, but I'm not just looking for yeses, because then every no is a disappointment. Right. So I'm counting my no's on my way to my yeses. And you ain't trying to get your 3 yeses today. If you're going to hit the phones, you're trying to get 97 people to tell you no. And the result will be you'll get 3 yeses. And when you start embracing that, then you're unstoppable, because it doesn't become emotional. It's not pulling you down every time you hear a no. It's lifting you up. And so I think that's just again, these are just little triggers in your mind that you can control. And once you start to understand that, you don't have to feel deflated or like you're not winning when the game is the game. That's just what it is.
That's a freaking gem right there. I feel like that's a masterclass just on sales. I've never looked at it like that. 97
Right.
no's, because then you're like
Right.
you're looking for the no's, right?
Right.
And then wow,
Yeah,
that's
for
awesome.
sure.
Well, yeah, thank you for sharing that, Jay. I feel like you have such an interesting story. I feel like you could tell so many stories about funny sales and real estate and just so many things. But I know that we're cutting our time here, but it's been a pleasure and an honor. And
Yeah, man.
thank you so much for being on here. Where can people find you on Instagram and Twitter and
Yeah,
whatever
man.
social media you're on?
Pretty much if you type in Jay Kinder, Jay Kinder or Jay Kinder 82, I think is what my handle is on Instagram. It's usually pretty entertaining there on Instagram if you follow me. But yeah, that's probably the best place to find me is on the gram or on Facebook. I'm pretty easy to find.
Yeah. All right, guys. That's Jay Kinder. Check him out on Instagram. He's got some pretty sick cards too, so you'll like seeing the show.
Right. All right, man.
Thank you. I thank you for your time and thanks for the gems. We appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man. Have a great day. Thanks for having me on the show.